Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Schlotthauer here with another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Monday, September the 8th, 2025. In this tropical weather update, I'm going to explain to you all why the season is dead so far for the month of September and when I think we're going to see a lot of tropical activity get going by the time we get into about the 17th and the 18th of September and beyond. Now, if you are new and you haven't been here before and you do find these tropical weather outlook and discussions very helpful, detailed, informative, and life-saving, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification icon to get daily tropical weather updates, including live streaming tropical weather coverage here on the channel. Hit that like button and share this video with their family and friends on social media. Now, when we take a look here at the deep tropical Atlantic, the Caribbean, the Gulf, and the southwestern Atlantic for Monday afternoon here on the 8th of September 2025, and we can blame a lot of the dry, warm, stable Saharan air layer coming from higher latitudes and also from Africa to prevent any tropical development, including a lot of subsidence, a very hostile environment right now in the deep tropical Atlantic as of today. You can see why. Here's a tropical wave that is already falling apart as it moves basically into Central America. Here's a lot of mischief going on that's not likely to develop because of the unfavorable background state of the atmosphere, but that's worth taking a look at there with that frontal boundary, something trying to develop here, and it's going to likely go out to sea. But otherwise, lots of hostility going on right now in the deep tropical Atlantic, nearly a couple of days away from the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season of 2025, which traditionally happens on September the 10th, 2025. And this is a very rare sight that you don't normally see on a 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. No tropical cyclone activity is expected during the next 7 days. So basically the whole map out here is completely blank, no outlook areas compared to the Eastern Pacific that we will look at here briefly. You can see an orange highlighted area here. This could become a very strong hurricane over the next 7 to 10 days, something that we are going to need to monitor very closely as long as the Atlantic stays quiet. And then, of course, Hurricane Kiko out here with winds of around 85 miles an hour based on its latest advisory here. This should come out really soon, probably under a hurricane at this time with winds of about 70 to 75 miles per hour. So with that being said, let's take a look now at our numerical global computer deterministic models. First, looking at the European here, looking at the 850 millibar cyclonic relative vorticity plot on weatherbell.com. There will be a link in the description below this video leading to the website. This is a paid website, by the way, so you can't just go on there and view this for free. There's a subscription to that. And so what we're looking at here is, I know it's hard to see, but this is the United States right all in here. There is Florida, there's the Gulf, there is basically Honduras, Nicaragua, and then down here you got Venezuela in Central America. Then over here you have Africa located. So now that you know where to look, here's a look at that vorticity, and we can see there's just nothing out here in the deep tropical Atlantic anytime soon. The background state is just way too hostile to support any tropical development. And this is going to continue for a while. Now, there is a little bit of mischief that we did mention on the satellite imagery, as you can see here, but because lots of dry air, subsidence, vertical wind shear, I don't see anything off that front to develop anytime soon. Just going to bring a lot of rainfall, some gusty winds, and that's the sort of thing that you'll see with that frontal passage. But then going out in time here, all the way out to day 7, still there is nothing out there through the 15th of September. All right, so not only are we seeing a dead peak to the Atlantic hurricane season, this is like the 3rd year in a row we're seeing this, but we're also looking at a dead 15th of September as well, according to the latest Euro model here, showing only a very weak tropical wave here. There's no discerning areas that I'm watching very closely anytime soon. And then going all the way out to 10 days, there is just nothing out there. There is just nothing but deadness. and this goes all the way out through the 18th of September. So, I mean, I'm telling you, time is ticking. Time is starting to tick here. If we look at yesterday's model run, same thing. So there is a consistent signal here showing that the tropics will remain quiet now over the next 10 days. Now, going beyond that, because the fact that things are very dead out there, let's go all the way out to about September the 20th. And this is where we get our next tropical wave that comes off of Africa and does try to bundle that energy up a little bit more. But still, that is very far out, and there is very low confidence of that actually developing. Actually, there's relatively high confidence. The Euro has been really consistent at it, but I don't think it's going to do a whole lot, at least through perhaps, my goodness, we may have to wait until like the last week of September, perhaps, to get anything out of the tropics here. Now, looking at the GFS model, the global forecasting system, it shows a completely different story over the next 10 days. So we'll kind of dive right into that. And you can see here, of course, showing a little bit more vorticity, but that fails to get its act together. But interestingly enough, all of this mischief going on off of Africa in the next 90 hours becomes the breeding ground for something eventually on the GFS model just outside of the 7-day forecast. And you can see it right here, a little bit of a vorticity plot there, a little bit of spin in the atmosphere. When we actually take a look at the Caribbean sector, you can see that a little bit more readily, showing a nice good cyclonic area of spin there to the north of Puerto Rico in just about the 8 to 9 day forecast, and then another area trying to spin up here over the northwestern portion of the Caribbean. And that's going to be the area that we need to really watch closely, because as we go out to day 10 here, for many reasons, because there's a lot of variability, the GFS really goes crazy with our Central American gyre type system, which I don't believe that's going to develop. There's just not much signal from the Canadian, from the Icon, from other global deterministic models that that's going to show up. So we're going to put a big X on it, that the fact that the GFS is convectively biased on that type of system. However, this system, we'll see how other models latch onto it, but only the GFS model shows this system to the north of Hispaniola and the Dominican Republic to develop in about 10 days, with it being a very low confidence forecast. Now, when we take a look at the deep layer vertical wind shear here rather quickly here on the European deterministic model, you can clearly see why there is not a lot of tropical activity out there in the deep tropical Atlantic in the MDR. That is all thanks to a lot of vertical wind shear. We got a lot of vertical wind shear in the Caribbean. We also got a lot of this PVU streamer-like vorticity and shear that is going on across the subtropical Atlantic. This is not ideal. This is not what you want to see in the tropical Atlantic if you're looking for a lot of tropical development. And so when we go forward in time here, this continues to be a problem. Like, look at all this. Look at all this vertical wind shear in the Caribbean, anywhere between 25 to 40 knots. That is not going to allow for any tropical development at all whatsoever in the next 5 to 7 days here on the Euro. And this continues to be the case going forward. I mean, look at this. Really, really hostile background environment here throughout the end of the forecast model. So it is going to be interesting. If we cannot get a named storm in September, literally, if we can't at all, I am going to start wondering, are we literally done for the hurricane season, or what is going on? We do have this system right here that does try to develop, but it just runs into that vertical wind shear and it just gets torn apart. You can clearly see it right here. That is vertical wind shear greater than 40 to 60 knots. That is going to tear apart that system almost entirely. So I don't know. The Euro really not very enthused about the tropics this year, and it's been going at that level for a while now. So will things wake up? It does appear that around the 17th and the 18th of September right now, I do expect the tropics to wake up once again with tropical activity, but that could get pushed back. and is a low confidence forecast. So now, what do the latest ensemble models have to tell us in terms of the chances of tropical development over the next 10 days? So first of all, looking at the European ensemble forecast, and this was generated on the 8th of September at around 12Z early this morning. And you can see the very latest forecast has a very weak signal out here in the main development region. And if any development does occur, this would go out to sea, but that is too far to make an assumption that, oh, it's going out to sea on one group of ensemble members here from the Euro. So right now there is a very incoherent weak signal out here in the European model field going forward over the next 10 days. So I am not really confident that there's going to be a lot of development, at least over the course of the next 10 days, perhaps at this given point in time. Looking at the GEFS ensemble, there's also a rather weak signal out here, very spread out. We got some members that go out to sea here, while some other members go this far to the west. And so that means, again, we talked about this in yesterday's live stream, how there's a lot of noise. There's no signal. There's no clustering or bundling of the ensembles indicating that, oh, this tropical wave is going to develop. Oh, and then there's another tropical wave coming off of Africa that has a lot of ensemble model support on it. So right now, this is just all noise, whatnot. It's just really nothing to really write home about that, oh, we're going to have our next tropical storm or hurricane. Beyond the 18th or the 17th, though, is what we're going to need to start watching closely to see if these ensemble model signals start picking up on something. A little bit of a signal here coming off that Central American gyre, though, a little bit of a stronger one for the northwestern Caribbean and the southeastern portion of the Gulf. But because of what the Euro is showing, there is a less than 1% chance of that actually occurring. Now, looking at our Google DeepMind artificial intelligence models that we like to use, these are newly introduced this year. And we can see there is definitely a lot of clustering of the model ensembles here from the Google DeepMind forecast, but none of these are headed west. Only just a few members are showing that happening. I'll tell you, boy, the Leeward Islands got very lucky so far this season. Really, really lucky. We will see if that sticks around for a little while longer through the rest of the hurricane season. Because, boy, I'll tell you, this is good news if this actually goes out to sea like the others that we have seen so far this season. Now, looking at the Google generation AI model, DeepMind forecast, also showing a rather tight cluster of models here, indicating that tropical wave coming off of Africa could in fact develop into our next tropical depression or storm. But again, because of what the GEFS ensemble and what the European ensemble are showing, there is a very low chance of this actually occurring for the time being, and this goes all the way out to about the 17th and the 18th of September, so over the next 10 days, with no signal in the Gulf or the northwestern Caribbean. So when will things actually become more conducive for tropical development in the main development region, the Caribbean, the Gulf, or the southwestern Atlantic? Well, when we take a look here at the European Ensemble Prediction System Control Velocity Potential Anomaly Forecast, this is a Hofmöller diagram showing us what parts of the tropics are seeing a lot of subsidence, which means the air is sinking, it is warming, it is drying, lots of vertical wind shear, lots of tut activity. And so this is where we're entering right now. There's a lot of hostility going on in the Atlantic going forward. This orange and red denotes a lot of sinking, lots of subsidence going on, suppressed convective mode going on in the Atlantic. And then here comes the next anomaly of showing a lot of upward motion, favorable environment here, showing a lot of green, lots of blue colors, indicating a lot of rising motion, convection, perhaps moving across the Caribbean and perhaps across the MDR. But just because we see this does not mean, oh, we're going to see a lot of tropical wave activity. We clearly had a brief slot of opportunity here for tropical development, and 91L did not take full advantage. The problem here is there's a lot of stability problems. The background environment in the sea surface temperature configuration is just not there this year. It's really not. And so it is going to be interesting. do the tropics take full advantage? Any tropical wave coming off of Africa take full advantage of this favorable environment that is coming around the 17th and the 18th of September and beyond? Because if it doesn't, then we are really going to scratch our head and be like, boy, despite that, we can't get any development. I mean, that will tell us that, wow, this hurricane season could really be done if we can't get anything by the end of September. So we'll see about that, if this actually does meaningful production or if it doesn't at all. Looking at the artificial intelligence model showing us the same thing, lots of favorable environment coming around the 17th and the 18th. Remember, all this blue environment here shows a lot of upward motion, convection, lots of less vertical wind shear. And then up over here, there's a lot of orange and red indicating lots of sinking, lots of vertical wind shear, and hostility environment coming through. Now, when we look at the MJO phase diagram here, this is what I showed you all in last night's live stream, and this has changed pretty dramatically in the last 24 hours. So you can see where the MJO is right now. It is basically in phase 2. Whatever MJO we actually have there remains quite incoherent. But it is expected to go back into the null phase, so very disorganized MJO, incoherent activity. And then some of the members have shifted rapidly towards the left, showing a lot of MJO activity, perhaps in phases 1 and 8, by the time we go into about September the 19th and the 20th. Remember, about that time frame is when we expect maybe some development and formation in the MDR as well as in the Caribbean, all thanks to where this is going. It is going this way into phases 8 and 1. Now, looking at the European model, there is better agreement that most of the members have shifted in this general direction over here into phases 1 and 8, meaning that the Central American gyre is going to get a lot more active perhaps towards the latter part of September, and that's where we're going to really need to watch for any little vorticity that tries to spin off of that Central American gyre and might try to consolidate and take full advantage of the ripe environment that the MJO is going to be moving into. And we can see, again, from about the 16th all the way until the very end of the month, or to the headed into the 3rd week of September and the 4th week, we have a very active phase coming around the corner by the time we go into about the 16th and the 22nd of September. And even some of the ensemble members from the European deterministic and ensemble forecast calling for a hyperactive outbreak of the MJO as we go into the latter part of September. Now, with that being said, I cannot ignore this at all. The upper ocean heat content in the Gulf and the northwestern Caribbean is flat out concerning, ridiculous, obnoxious looking. I'm speechless. I really am, and I don't like to hype up stuff and cause a lot of fear, but you need to be afraid of this. This is extremely record-breaking, historically record-breaking upper ocean heat content in the Gulf, let alone. Look at the loop current right here. I mean, that is purple. That is off the charts here on the legend, as you can see. And also across the southwestern and western Gulf, we are looking at extremely record-breaking, shattering upper ocean heat content values, meaning that if we get anything in the form of Milton, Helene, or Debbie and takes full advantage of the Gulf, we're going to have really big problems, really big, nasty, ugly problems on our doorstep that we do not want to be facing, since things have been really nice and quiet out there. No landfalls, no impacts to anyone as of late. And boy, I'll tell you, the last half of the hurricane season could be far different than the first half of the hurricane season. Look at the northwestern portion now, and I want you to really take a good look at that. That's the most purple I have ever seen on this map from the University of Miami with its upper ocean heat content values in a very long time, possibly higher than 2020, 2023, 2024 combined. I mean, you just can't get any worse than this when it comes to upper ocean heat content. And looking at the rest of the Caribbean here, you can clearly see that, man, there is a lot of octane fuel, a lot of it out here in the northwestern, north central portion of the Caribbean. And so if we get any tropical wave or tropical storm that begins right here and tracks this way and takes full advantage, I would not be surprised, folks. And again, you can call me fear-mongering, you could call me hype squad over here, I don't care. I would not be surprised if we get one more Category 4, or if not, even a Category 5 hurricane before the Atlantic hurricane season is a shutdown by the time we go usually into the latter part of October into early November. We have time for things to change here, and I'll tell you, this is pretty bad. This is very bad. The upper ocean heat content anomaly in the Gulf is ridiculous as well. Look at all of these reds, purple colors on your screen, orange colors, indicating upper ocean heat content is well above the long-term average. Even so, there's anomalies in here that are below average, whatnot. That's just due to a little bit of mixing of eddies of water. But overall, the entire Gulf as a whole is running well ahead where it should be for this time of the year as far as upper ocean heat content, including for the northwestern Caribbean. It's only a matter of time when any system will take full advantage of this. And I'll tell you what, you better hope it doesn't, because if it does, we are going to have some very ugly, nasty problems that we could be facing. Something similar to Debbie, Helene, Milton, Michael, Laura, Sally, you name them all. They were very highly impactful hurricanes in the last number of years, and we do not want to have that happen again. But unfortunately, with upper ocean heat content that is this high, this really raises huge concerns, all right? This does not form hurricanes, as I discussed in last night's live stream, but if we get any tropical storm that develops well downstream, right, and then moves into this environment, it could explode very quickly. Rapid intensification systems in this portion of the Caribbean and the Gulf are much higher than if it were in much shallower, warmer waters, if that makes sense. So looking at the upper ocean heat content in the Gulf right here, this is the highest it's ever been. You can see nothing comes close. All right, 2024 is this orange line right here. You can see it right here. That was last year. This is 2025, or wait, 2023, in other words. We're ahead of those two warmest years ever on record when it comes to how much heat content is being stored in the ocean. We are now breaking an all-time high record right now on this very given moment as of yesterday in the Gulf. Now, looking at the anomaly, we're also not far. We're in about third place right now, the top three of the warmest, only slightly behind 2022 and 2024, I believe that is. So we're not far. We really aren't for some of the highest anomalies ever on record in the Gulf. Now, with that being said, if you have not been here before and you do find these tropical weather outlook and discussions very helpful, detailed, informative, and life-saving, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. It really helps out a lot, folks. Hit that bell notification icon to receive daily tropical weather updates here on an everyday basis on the channel, regardless of if the Atlantic is quiet or active or not. Hit that like button and share this video with their family and friends on social media, because if you do hit that bell icon, you can get all my updates, including live streaming coverage of the tropics as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with you more maybe tomorrow with another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion.